Okay, so this video is going to extend on what we did before. Before we built uh, a vehicle class and we had public properties, current speed and top speed. When demonstrating how to use these, I kind of highlighted some issues with the way that they were accessible and were able to be changed so that the program would do strange things. So this is the whole concept of encapsulation. So um, in OCR A level, there are three things you need to understand about object-oriented programming. Encapsulation is one of them, the first one. Also, polymorphism, which we'll come on to later, and inheritance, which we'll come on to after this. But encapsulation is basically about encapsulating what things in a class should be accessed publicly and what things should be accessed privately. Now, I've copied this to a new replit because I want to change it here and I want to keep the old one for reference to the other lesson. But you can work in the same one. So hopefully you should have the same example that I've got here and we can add into this. So the problem we've got here is that after I've accelerated and decelerated, those functions work fine. I then got current speed. I'm setting the current speed and I'm setting the top speed. So that isn't really what we want, because if I can just change the current speed anywhere, well, what's the point of having accelerate and decelerate? And also, it means that our program might behave in a strange way. We might be going 10 miles an hour, and then a programmer comes in and is able to change the value of the current speed to go 1,000,000 miles an hour. And well, they shouldn't be able to do that. There should be checks and balances in there. So we're going to make these private like this. Someone said to me once, you should always make all of your properties of your class private at first when you create the class, unless you have a very good reason why you need it to be public. So start off with them private, and then if for some reason you need to access them outside of the way that it's defined through the class publicly, then you can change it. But to be safe, we should make them all private and then make them less private for a very good reason. So if I do that, I'm immediately going to get loads of errors. We're going to fix these. And the error is the vehicle speed is inaccessible due to its protection level. So what are we going to do to fix that? Well, obviously you can follow all this code, by the way, in this article that's linked below. Well, we are going to create a way of accessing those variables in the way that we want, through getters and setters. So these are some other functions other than accelerate and decelerate. So we're going to create the getter for current speed. This is literally going to get current speed, return its value. So it's a public function, going to return an integer, current speed, and it's going to be called get current speed. And it's simply going to do one thing, it's going to return current speed like this. We also want to be able to set the current speed. This is a little bit more complicated. This function is not going to return anything, but it is going to set current speed, but it's going to check what we want to set the property to. So we're going to pass in the value here into set current speed. And we need to check if that value, well, it doesn't make sense. If we've initialized the class and said its top speed is 100 miles an hour, and now we're trying to set the current speed to a value that's greater than that, that doesn't make any sense. So we're going to define how this variable can be set outside of it. So we're going to do if speed is less than or equal to top speed. So only if that's the case, will we then update the current speed equal to the speed. Else, current speed should equal top speed. Uh, yeah, obviously there's a case of like, what if it was a negative speed? We haven't dealt with that, but keeping it simple for this, um, you can't get set speed of a vehicle to go higher than the top speed, right? So we've created two functions now, get current speed and set current speed. Um, and that is defining how we are meant to interact with and change current speed. So if I go back to here, to fix these errors here, I can't access the current speed directly now. I have to access it through get current speed. So I have to do the object car dot and then the function name, right? And then I'm going to do the same here as well, get current speed. And I'm going to do the same here as well, get current speed. So really, you need to program the class correctly, else you're going to get a lot of errors if you do it. If you suddenly halfway through decide something's going to be private, you need to maybe make it private at first, and then if it doesn't need to be private, maybe make it public. But and here we are now trying to set the current speed to be 10, but we can't set it directly. We have to use set current speed. We have to pass in the value that we want to set it by. So obviously, if I pass that through now, it will pick that up. It will know that it's greater than top speed, and it will set it to the maximum speed, which is the current speed. It will, if we're trying to change that speed to anything more than the top speed, we'll know that it's greater than that, and it will set it to the maximum speed, which is the top speed. So we're not going to do that anymore. So I've set this. That's the top speed it can go to. Now let's do it for top speed. Let's create a getter and a setter for top speed. So we've got public int. It's going to return get top speed, and it's simply just going to return top speed. And we are going to have a setter for this. Now, obviously, you can't say what the top speed of a vehicle is going to be, so we don't necessarily need to check this, but we have made it private, so we're not able to change that top speed unless we go through this. Perhaps we could set an arbitrary top speed of a vehicle, but there's no need to check it here really. You know, a vehicle could be anything, couldn't it? It could be not just a car, it could be a bus, it could be a spaceship in the future that can go at the speed of light, which is the fastest speed in the universe. So maybe we want to set the top speed to check if it's less than the speed of light. I'll leave you to do that, and I'll just put in this. So all we're literally doing here is just a function now that takes in the parameter speed and sets the top speed to be whatever we decide to set it. So I would still be able to set the top speed to 3000. And that might be okay. Maybe it's a jet aircraft and it can go that fast. But set top speed. And if I want to change that top speed to 1000, I can, but I have to do it through this defined method. And then I can't access it directly here. So I have to get it, the top speed through the getter, and I can't access it, the variable directly here. So I have to get it through the getter. And now I've fixed all those errors before, because I'm now updating and getting these properties that are now private. They are encapsulated, and we are defining how they are set and how they are got. And obviously, accelerate and decelerate also define how current speed is changed. So maybe this function set current speed is redundant, and we don't want actually anyone to be able to set the current speed unless it is done through the accelerate or the decelerate function. So that is completely up to you. But if I did take that out, I commented it out like that, obviously we're not going to be able to do this anymore. The only way that we're going to be able to set the current speed is by calling accelerate or decelerate and then passing in those values. But hopefully now you understand how important it is to to define how those properties are changed, and it's not good practice to let people change properties of a class directly, but we want to control how they're changed through getters and setters. So once you've copied this example down, and I'll put a link to the code below, have a look at these other exercises at the end. You have to create an animal class, so a completely different class. Or you could create, as I said here at the last one, I said maybe do this for some of the classes you created in exercise 1. I said create groups of objects or classes. So, but if you want to stick with this example, create an animal class, give it properties, name and age, initialize them in a constructor, give it a function and make sound. Now create an instance of the class and make these now private, or initialize, start them as private. I will change that. Start them as private, and then write getters and setters for them, so you're able to update the name and the age of the animal through getters and setters. And they'll be very simple getters and setters. They'll be a bit like this one, like set top speed, and then we're setting it through a setter, get top speed, and we're just getting the value of it through this getter. But the idea is not to allow those important private variables to be accessed directly. And once you've had a go at that, have a look at this class here. So this is called UML, Unified Modeling Language, and this is a class diagram. And in the top bit, at the very top bit, we have the name of the class, building, and then we have its attributes or its properties. So, and they're all private, number of floors, width and height. And then we've got its methods. So in the bottom box, the constructor. So this is actually taken from a past paper question as well. So, and they ask you to write out the class and define it. So try and have a go at defining that class with these functions and these properties. And most of these, all these properties are just getters and setters for these private variables. And then the last one is go back to the exercise you created in exercise 1 and make the properties of those classes private and create getters and setters for them. And yeah, look.